It had been 9 years. Not a single call, not a letter, not even a birthday text, just silence. And you know what's wild? I wasn't even thinking about her that day. I wasn't out hunting for closure or trying to accidentally bump into her. I was just grabbing a black coffee and trying to get through another boring Tuesday. Then I saw her. She was sitting outside a trendy coffee shop, one of those downtown spots with neon signs and overpriced pastries. She was laughing with 2 other women, loud enough that I heard her voice before I even recognized her face. But once I did, my whole body locked up. Time, breath, thought, everything froze. She looked the same. That same crooked smile, that same smug confidence. The woman who ripped my life to pieces was sitting there like the past had never happened. And then she saw me. Her smile faded mid-laugh. Her head tilted slightly, like she wasn't sure if it was really me, but it was. I made sure she knew. I didn't blink. I didn't flinch. I just looked straight at her. And she just stood. Didn't wave. Didn't speak. Just stood up like a ghost had entered the room. Like her skeleton forgot how to move. She should have known this day would come. Maybe not today. Maybe not 9 years later. But karma always circles back. Let me take you back. Back to the day it all started unraveling. I was 31. We were married for almost 6 years. Back then, I thought we were solid. We had routines. Taco Tuesdays, lazy Sunday mornings, wine, and board games on Fridays. She worked in marketing. I was in logistics. We were the couple people described as balanced. They didn't know the storm brewing beneath our surface. The first time I noticed something was off was when she suddenly started going to networking mixers twice a week. At first, I didn't question it. I trusted her. I mean, why wouldn't I? But one night, she came home past midnight. I was half asleep on the couch, and she reeked of someone else's cologne. When I asked about it, she laughed it off, said a guy from work leaned in for a hug goodbye and it must have rubbed off. Said I was being paranoid. I wanted to believe her, so I did. But the gut knows. The body knows before the brain catches up. Weeks passed. She was glued to her phone more than usual, always keeping it face down, jumping to answer texts in the bathroom, whispering in the hallway like I had gone deaf. One Saturday morning, she told me she was going to a branding seminar out of town. That alone wasn't strange. What was strange was the way she packed lingerie. I saw it in the suitcase while she was in the shower. Lace sets I'd never seen before. Matching heels. She'd never worn stuff like that for me. So I did what I'd never done before. I followed her. I know, sounds pathetic, creepy even, but something in me said, this is it. Today you find out. I waited until she checked into the hotel, then parked across the street. A few hours later, a silver BMW pulled in. A man got out, tall, neatly dressed, smug, and walked straight to her room like it wasn't his first time. I didn't explode. I didn't go banging on the door like in the movies. I just watched and filmed. It felt like watching someone else's life, someone else's wife. And yet it was mine. My world, my vows, my future, all reduced to a shaky camera phone clip. She stayed with him the whole weekend. Never once texted me. Not even a lie. Just radio silence. When she came home Sunday night, her hair still smelled like his cologne. Her lipstick was smudged. I asked her, "How was the seminar?" She smiled, kissed my cheek, and said, "Educational." I didn't say anything. Not yet. I wanted her to lie one more time. I needed her to, because the next move would change everything. That's how the unraveling started. But trust me, it gets so much worse. She didn't just cheat on me. She used me, played me for a fool while planning her grand escape behind my back. And that woman that day in the coffee shop 9 years later, she never expected to see me again. Not after what she did. But I had a plan. Next part drops soon. You won't believe what I found in her suitcase the night I disappeared. That Sunday night, after she gave me that smug little smile and called the weekend educational, I didn't sleep. I lay there beside her, wide awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to her breathing. I was calculating not how to get revenge, not yet, but how to get out without her realizing I was already gone. See, most people, when they catch their partner cheating, they explode. They scream, throw things, go crazy. But I didn't want a scene. I wanted a clean cut. I wanted her to wake up one day and realize the toy she played with vanished, and took the entire game board with it. The next morning, while she was in the shower, I opened her suitcase. I didn't have to dig deep. On top of her clothes, right there like a damn trophy, was a handwritten note. Not addressed to me, addressed to him. It read, "Thank you for making me feel like a woman again. I forgot what that felt like. I'll tell him soon. Just be patient. He's useful for now." Useful. That word did something to me. Not even the betrayal hurt as much as reading that word in her handwriting. I wasn't her husband. I was a tool, a placeholder, a utility bill she hadn't canceled yet. So I made a choice. I didn't confront her. I didn't cry. I didn't even breathe loud. I simply copied the note, folded it, and put it in my own drawer, right next to the USB drive where I saved the hotel footage. Then I made calls. I moved money. I contacted an old college buddy who worked in real estate. I made arrangements for my name to be quietly removed from the lease. The car leased in my name, I reported it stolen 2 days later after she took it to yoga. Her affair partner was driving it when the cops pulled him over. That was fun to watch. I told my boss I'd be taking a leave of absence. Packed a duffel bag, bought a burner phone, transferred everything I legally could from our joint account. And on Friday morning, I left. No note, no warning, just gone. She called me 34 times that day, then texted, "Where the hell are you? I'm freaking out. Are you okay?" Then, "Are you doing this because of what I said in the letter? We need to talk. I didn't mean it like that. Come home, please." She wasn't sorry she cheated. She was sorry she lost control. That weekend, I stayed at a small Airbnb in the mountains. I didn't bring much, just the essentials. That silence, it was deafening. But for the first time in years, it was mine. I thought she'd move on fast. After all, she had him, right? Turns out, 2 weeks later, I got an email from her boss. Not directly, of course. Just one of those company-wide memos. Turns out she'd been fired. Someone leaked the footage to her company's ethics board. The hotel footage. I didn't send it, but I know who did. Remember the branding seminar she was supposed to attend? It was organized by her company. Apparently, she used the corporate card for the room. They were not impressed. She tried to contact me again, this time through my sister. Claimed she was destroyed, that she didn't recognize herself anymore. Said I overreacted. You want to know what overreacting looks like? Try watching the person you swore to build a life with laugh in another man's hotel room while lying to your face. No, I didn't overreact. I just stopped reacting. I disappeared for good. Changed cities. Changed jobs. Grew out my beard. Got back into hiking. For the first time in forever, I was me again. Not someone's husband. Not someone's placeholder. Years passed. I stopped looking over my shoulder. Stopped waiting for her shadow to show up in my rearview mirror. Eventually, she just became a story I didn't tell. Until that day at the coffee shop. 9 years later, she stood there like her feet had been nailed to the sidewalk. Her friends turned to look at me, confused. I smiled, just a little, just enough to say, "Yeah, it's me." She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. I didn't speak either. Not yet. Because there were things she still didn't know. What she did that really ruined everything wasn't the affair. It was what happened the night before I walked out. Something I never told anyone. Something I had kept buried for 9 years. But now that she'd seen me again, now that I held the power, I wasn't going to keep it buried any longer. Next part drops soon. Let me tell you what I found on her laptop. The night before I disappeared, the night before I left her, the night before I vanished from that life, I did something I never thought I'd do. I broke into her laptop. I know it's a line, a violation, but after the suitcase, after the hotel footage, after the letter calling me useful, I stopped caring about playing fair. She'd already crossed every line. I just needed to know how deep it went. She wasn't home yet. Said she was out with coworkers. That was lie number 74, probably. I sat on the couch, stared at that MacBook for 15 minutes, then finally opened it. She used the same password as her gym membership. Typical. The desktop was clean. Too clean. One folder labeled Q4 campaigns. But inside, nothing work-related. Just dozens of videos, private ones. Some were short, 10 seconds, maybe less, but others long, intimate, explicit. I won't describe them. I won't give her that attention. But I will tell you this. They were with more than one man. Not just the guy from the hotel. There were three different men, 3 different settings. Sometimes in our house, sometimes in my car. She'd recorded them like trophies. She was in control in every video, laughing, whispering things like, "He has no idea," and "This is better than therapy." I felt like I was outside my body, like I was watching a documentary about a woman I didn't even know. Then came the final folder. It was labeled Journal. Curiosity made me open it. Inside were text files, dated entries. Not every day, but every week or two, going back almost a year. I started reading. He's good but predictable. Boring in bed. Too careful. Always trying to please like a puppy. I can't leave him until I secure the account. He's my financial safety net. But God, I hate sleeping next to him. The way he still brings me flowers, it's sad. I smile like I'm grateful, but all I want is to scream. I'm gonna pretend to cry next week. That always resets his suspicions. There it was. My entire marriage, every fight, every silent treatment, every apology I ever gave. It was all part of her script. She didn't just cheat. She didn't just betray me. She orchestrated it. She choreographed my humiliation like a play. She was the director, the actress, the writer. I was just the fool holding the camera. I copied the entire journal, backed it all up, and deleted nothing. I didn't want to leave any trace that I'd seen it. I wanted her to live with the illusion that she still had control, that she was still winning, but I was already gone. She came home late that night, said she was exhausted, tried to cuddle into bed with me. I held her quietly. No anger, no tension, just silence. She thought I was calming down. She didn't know I had already rented a U-Haul. Didn't know I'd already quit my job. Didn't know I had a burner phone in my pocket or that I'd opened a new bank account in another state. That was the last night we ever slept in the same bed. The next morning, I was gone. And now it's 9 years later, and she's standing outside that coffee shop like a frozen mannequin. I can tell she wants to run, but she can't. Her friends are watching. She's pretending to smile, pretending she's okay, but I see the twitch in her jaw, the tremble in her hand, and I haven't even said a word yet. What she doesn't know is that I've rebuilt everything better, stronger, that I came back to the city on purpose. I came back for something important, not for revenge, not to rub it in, but because she left behind something I never told her about, something she thought I'd never find out, something that now I want to confront. Next part drops soon. I'll tell you what she left behind and how I discovered it had a name. People think the worst part of betrayal is the act itself. The cheating, the lying, the moment you discover you were being played. But that's not the worst part. The worst part is what comes after, the echo that follows you years down the road when you think you're healed. And for me, that echo had a name. I didn't find out until 6 years after I disappeared. By then, I was living in Oregon. Different name on my mailbox, different life, different friends. I had rebuilt everything from scratch. Found peace in quiet routines, weekend hikes, reading in the evenings, sipping whiskey on the porch. No drama, no lies, no guessing games. And then one day a letter came. No return address, just a simple white envelope. My name printed in block letters like someone was afraid to write it in cursive. Inside was a photograph. A little girl, maybe 6. Big eyes, dark curly hair, a small gap between her front teeth. She was holding a stuffed lion and smiling wide, like she had no idea the photo would destroy a man's world. Attached was a sticky note. She deserves to know the truth. You were always better than me. No name, no explanation, just that. I stared at the photo for an hour, maybe more. I was numb. Everything in me refused to believe it. But that smile, something about it was familiar. Not just genetically, emotionally, like she had some part of me behind those eyes. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I hired a private investigator, discreet, reliable, someone I could trust. I gave him what little I had. The envelope, the handwriting, the photograph. I told him I didn't want to disturb anyone. I just needed the truth. 2 weeks later, I got a call. Her name is Riley. She's 8 now. Lives with her mother in the city you left. Your ex-wife. I felt like the air had been sucked out of my chest. That would place her conception right around that final year. The year she was working late. The year she was cheating. The year she was recording herself in bed with other men while smiling about how stupid I was. So, I asked the question that had been burning inside me since I saw that photo. Is she mine? The PI paused, then said, "There's no birth certificate with a father listed, but there is something you should see." He emailed me documents, medical records, notes from a pediatrician. Under family history, someone had written, "Father unknown." Possible cardiac issues from paternal side. Patient advised to follow up when older. I knew exactly what that meant. When I was 19, I was diagnosed with a rare congenital heart arrhythmia. Nothing fatal, just something to watch. It's not the kind of thing you find in random files. You only list it if you know the father. And she knew. She knew. And she hid it. I sat there in a house she didn't know existed, holding the medical record of a child who looked just like me. And I had no idea how to feel. Was I a father? Had I abandoned my own daughter? Or was this just another manipulation? Another twist in her web? But the truth is, it didn't matter, because suddenly everything I thought I had buried, the betrayal, the humiliation, the anger, it all came flooding back. But not for her, for Riley. If she was mine, then she'd grown up without knowing the truth, without knowing me. And that wasn't her fault. I needed proof. I needed answers. I went back to the city not to see my ex. Not yet. I went to see Riley. I watched from a distance as she left school one afternoon. She was with her mother, my ex-wife. She looked older, more tired, but still carried herself like the world owed her something. But Riley, she ran up to a dog on the sidewalk, knelt down, and laughed. Same laugh I had as a kid. Same awkward wave. Same damn dimple on her left cheek. I knew. I knew without a test. I knew before the PI could even confirm it. And now, standing outside that coffee shop 9 years later with her eyes locked on mine, she knew that I knew. I didn't speak. Not yet. I let the silence do the talking because the next move wasn't going to be quiet. In part 5, she finally breaks the silence, and I ask one question she never expected to hear from me. She didn't speak right away. Her friends kept glancing between us, clearly confused. One of them leaned in to whisper something, maybe trying to joke it off, but she wasn't listening anymore. Her gaze was locked on mine. Wide eyes, pale face, shoulders tight. Then she did the one thing I didn't expect. She walked away from them. No explanation, no goodbye. She left her iced latte half full, her phone on the table, and moved toward me like every step required effort. She looked like someone heading to their own funeral. Slow, careful, resigned. When she stopped just a few feet from me, the air between us shifted, heavy, loaded with the weight of 9 years of silence. "Evie," her voice cracked as she said it. "You're here." That was it. Just that. No apology. No, "How have you been?" No fake smile. Just those 2 words, like seeing me in the flesh, defied the universe she built. I let the silence linger another few seconds. I wanted her to feel it. I wanted her to stew in it. Then I said the only thing I came to say, "Why didn't you tell me about her?" She flinched like I'd slapped her. Her mouth opened, then closed. She looked around as if hoping no one heard. Then back to me. I didn't know how. I didn't think." She stopped herself. "You weren't supposed to find out." That part hit hard. She wasn't sorry she'd lied. She was sorry I knew. "I had a right to know," I said calmly. "You lied to both of us." She shook her head slowly. "It was complicated. You left. You didn't want anything to do with me." "I didn't leave her," I snapped, sharper than I intended. "I didn't even know she existed." The guilt showed up, but not in the way you'd expect. Not in tears or remorse, just in silence. She looked down at her shoes like a child caught cheating on a test. "I wasn't sure if she was yours," she finally whispered. Bullshit. Her head snapped up. I saw the doctor's report, I continued. The cardiac note. You knew. Maybe not right away, but by the time she was 2, 3, you knew. Her lip trembled. I was scared you'd come back and try to take her from me. That sentence confirmed everything. Even after everything she did, the cheating, the lies, the humiliation, she still saw herself as the victim, still framed me as the threat. I didn't come to take anything, I said. I just came to look you in the eye. She said nothing. Do you love her? I asked. Of course I do, she said instantly, like I'd insulted her. Then tell her the truth. Her eyes darted away. I'm serious, I said. She deserves to know. I'm not here to play dad. I'm not here to rip apart whatever life she's got. But one day, she's going to start asking questions, and you'd better be ready to answer them. I turned to leave, but then she reached out and grabbed my arm. Wait, she said. Why now? Why come back at all? I paused, staring at her hand on me, and then I said something I hadn't even planned. Because I'm not angry anymore, and that's what scares you. She let go. It's true. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even hurt. Not anymore. That version of me, the broken man she lied to, cheated on, manipulated, he was dead. The one standing before her now was different. I spent years rebuilding my life, and now I finally understood the most important part of healing. It's not forgetting what they did. It's realizing they never had the power they thought they had. I walked away from that coffee shop and she didn't follow. It had only been 3 days since the coffee shop. 3 days since I looked her in the eye for the first time in almost a decade and told her she owed her daughter the truth. I wasn't expecting anything to come of it. Honestly, I figured she'd go back to hiding, burying the story under new lies like she always did. But then on a quiet Friday night, I opened my laptop and saw a message request in my inbox from a name I didn't recognize. The subject line just read, "Hi, I think you knew my mom." My stomach dropped. I clicked it. Hi. I hope this isn't weird. My name is Riley. I'm 17. My mom's name is Adrian. I think you might have known her a long time ago. I found a picture of you in an old album at my grandmother's house. You had the same eyes as me. I asked my mom, but she looked really uncomfortable and didn't say much. She told me not to worry about it. But I want to know the truth. I didn't respond right away. I just sat there staring at the screen, my hands frozen on the keyboard. For years, I had rehearsed the moment I might meet her, what I would say, how I'd explain the mess her mother had left behind. But I never imagined she would come to me. She was 17. 17 years of a life I missed. Her first steps, her first day of school, every birthday, every scraped knee and school recital gone, erased from my timeline like I never existed. And it wasn't my fault, but it still hurt like hell. I finally wrote back, "Hi, Riley. Yes, I knew your mom. And yes, I believe I may be your father. I didn't know about you until a few years ago, and even then I wasn't sure if I should reach out. I didn't want to confuse you or disrupt your life. But if you want to talk, really talk, I'm here. I owe you honesty if nothing else." She replied within 10 minutes. "Can we meet? I just want to look you in the face and see if it feels real." That message broke something open in me. The simple need behind it. She wasn't demanding anything. She just wanted to know if her instincts were right. If the strange man in the photo album with the same crooked grin and dimple was more than a coincidence. I agreed to meet the next day. We chose a quiet public park halfway between our cities. Neutral ground. I got there early and waited on a bench, watching every teenage girl who passed by, unsure how to brace myself. But when Riley arrived, I knew instantly. It wasn't just the physical resemblance, though that was undeniable. It was the way she moved, the way she scanned her surroundings, cautious but curious. The way she sat down and exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for years. She smiled nervously. "Hi," she said. "You look exactly like the picture, except older." I laughed. That tends to happen. We sat in silence for a moment, both of us unsure who should speak first. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out a printed photo. It was the same one I'd received anonymously years ago. Her as a child holding a stuffed lion, smiling at the camera. "My grandma had this in a drawer," she said. When I asked my mom about it, she said it was nothing, but I could tell she was lying. So I did some digging. I found a journal entry from her laptop. It mentioned you. My chest tightened. She said you left, that you disappeared, but she also said she never told you about me. I looked her in the eyes. She didn't. She said she was protecting me, Riley added. But that doesn't feel like protection. That feels like control. I nodded slowly. She was always good at rewriting the past, at making herself the hero of every version of the story. She made you sound like some cold guy who didn't care. I cared, I said, more than she ever let on. But caring isn't enough when someone's already decided how the story ends. She looked down. Why didn't you come find me after you found out? I took a breath. Because I didn't want to be a wrecking ball in your life. You deserve stability. I didn't want to show up as some stranger dragging baggage and bitterness into your world. But now that you've come to me, I won't lie to you, ever. She nodded. Her eyes were glassy. She wiped her face and gave me a shaky smile. Thanks for that. We spent the next hour talking. Not about the betrayal, not about her mom, just about her. Her love for photography, her plans for college, the fact she hated math but loved psychology. I learned more about her in 60 minutes than I knew about her mother in 6 years of marriage. And then, just before we left, she asked me something I'll never forget. Do you want to come to my graduation? I looked at her for a moment, trying to find words. I'd be honored. She smiled, really smiled. And in that moment, I realized something that shifted my entire perspective. This story wasn't about her mother anymore. It was about Riley and the life we could still build from here. The message came the next morning. One word, all caps, no greeting. Why? I hadn't blocked Adrian. I didn't feel the need. I thought, maybe stupidly, that after all this time we'd cross the threshold where maturity would finally win. That she'd be grateful her daughter and I had spoken. That she'd let Riley make her own decisions. I was wrong. Before I could even respond, 3 more messages followed in rapid succession. You had an O right. She's a child. She doesn't understand what she's doing. You're manipulating her like you always did. I closed the app and sat in silence. This was her pattern. Always the victim, always rewriting history mid-sentence. She hadn't asked how the meeting went. Hadn't asked how Riley was. Hadn't even asked if I told her the truth, because the truth to her was never the point. Control was. Then, around noon, my phone rang. A known number. I answered quietly. Hi, came Riley's voice. So, I guess she found out. I could hear it in her tone. She was bracing for fallout. She came into my room this morning holding her phone. She looked like she was going to explode. She didn't yell, though. She just said, I hope you're proud of yourself. You let him back in. Then she walked out. I didn't say anything. I let her speak. She hasn't talked to me since. She left for work without saying goodbye. Grandma texted me later, asked if everything was okay. I told her the truth. She said I was brave. You are brave, I said. Silence. Then, do you regret meeting me? That broke me. No, never. Not even for a second. She sniffled. Okay. I wanted you to know I'm not sorry either. We talked for a while. It was quiet, calm, but beneath her words, I could sense the storm building at home. Adrian wasn't going to let this go. I knew her too well. She'd build a narrative, spin it in her head until she believed it, until everyone else did too. And I was right. That evening, I got an email from an address I hadn't seen in years. It was Adrienne's lawyer. Subject: cease and desist. The message was short, formal, cold. This letter serves as formal notice to cease all contact with my client's daughter, Riley redacted, who is a minor under the custodial care of her mother. Further contact may result in legal action. I read it 3 times, then a 4th. Then I laughed. 17. Riley was 17. Practically a legal adult. And yet Adrian was still trying to weaponize custody like it was 2013. So I called my attorney. Yes, I had one. I kept them on retainer all these years, mostly for estate stuff, some light consulting. I sent them the letter. They called me within the hour. Looks like a bluff, he said. She knows she doesn't have legal footing, but she's throwing punches anyway. Typical play. Can she stop Riley from contacting me? Not unless there's a specific court order, and she's almost 18. The judge would probably laugh this out of court. I exhaled, long and hard. I wasn't afraid of legal threats. I was afraid Riley might be. So I sent her a message. Calm, clear. You don't owe me anything, but I'll never lie to you. If you ever need me, I'm here. That doesn't change. Her response came instantly. She tried to make me block you. I refused. I told her she can't undo this. I know who you are now, and I want to know more. And just like that, the thread Adrian had wrapped so tightly around her version of reality began to unravel. A week passed. Riley and I kept talking. Texts at first, then phone calls, then video chats. She told me about the tension in the house, how Adrian barely spoke unless it was passive-aggressive, how her mom accused her of being used and confused. She thinks I'm too young to understand betrayal, Riley said one night. But all she's done is show me what it looks like. That one hurt, because I realized she wasn't just angry at her mother. She was mourning her. Adrian wasn't going to apologize. She wasn't going to open up or explain or own any of it. She was too deep in denial, too terrified of losing control. But she already had. That weekend, I booked a hotel near Riley's school. Quiet, low-key. I didn't plan to see her, not directly. I just wanted to be nearby in case she needed me. I wanted her to know that while her mother had tried to erase me, I was real. I was there. And then, 2 days later, I got a text that stopped me cold. I think I want to leave. Like move in with grandma. I don't feel safe here anymore. I remember exactly where I was when the text came through. It was raining, steady, gentle. I was standing by the hotel window, watching droplets trail down the glass, sipping a black coffee that had gone cold. There was something oddly peaceful about that moment, a kind of quiet before whatever was about to happen next. And then, I'm packed. Grandma's on her way. I'm not staying here anymore. I blinked. Read it again. My chest tightened. Not from panic, but from a strange combination of pride and heartbreak. She was doing what I had done once, walking away from a place that no longer felt like home. But unlike me, she wasn't running blind. She was running towards something. I called her. Are you sure? I asked. Yeah, she said. Her voice was calm, steady. I'm done pretending. I want truth in my life, and that doesn't live in that house anymore. I didn't push. I didn't question it. I just told her the truth. I'm proud of you. That afternoon, she moved in with her grandmother. No drama, no screaming. Adrian apparently tried to guilt-trip her one last time, but it didn't land. Riley didn't engage. She didn't yell back. She just walked past her mother, suitcase in hand, and said, I want to be free to choose who's in my life. It was over. Adrian's grip, the lies, the control, the silence, finally cracked. And for the first time since Riley was born, she was allowed to breathe. A few days later, I picked her up and took her out for lunch. It wasn't a grand reunion. No sweeping music or movie moment hugs, just two people sitting across from each other, eating burgers and laughing like we'd known each other forever. She told me about her plans for college, about her dream of studying psychology, and maybe working with kids who've experienced trauma. I listened, and for the first time in a very long time, I felt something I'd thought was gone. Peace. Not just the absence of pain, but the presence of something better, something earned. At the end of lunch, she slid something across the table toward me. A photo. It was one I hadn't seen before. It was her as a child, around age 7, dressed as a lion for Halloween. I laughed. You really loved that stuffed lion, huh? She smiled. Yeah. Mom told me it came from someone special, but she never said who. I swallowed. She meant you, didn't she? I looked at the photo again. I think she did. We stepped outside into the sunlight. She gave me a hug. It wasn't awkward. It wasn't forced. Felt like something healing, like closing a circle. Before we parted, she asked, "Do you think we can keep doing this? Just getting to know each other." I nodded. "We can do whatever you want, Riley. You've got me now. No more secrets." And that was it. No court battles, no revenge, no screaming matches or fiery endings. Just truth, just reconnection, just the quiet power of choosing peace together. 9 years ago, she laughed at a coffee shop with her friends until she saw me and froze. Back then, that moment felt like a reckoning. But now it just feels like the beginning of something real.